Welcome to the Claws Out podcast, live from the mic'd up studio here in Parramatta. This is our preview of the West Tigers clash against the Melbourne Storm in Melbourne on Sunday. I am joined by Rob Senior and Junior here in studio, and Coach Adel Hodge is in his bunker in Queensland. I hope, Coach, you are feeling and looking a lot better than you were on Sunday night. You remind me of Tommy Rodonicus Sunday night with that voice. How's it going today?
Mate, I've been on the diff lambs for about 3 days, and thankfully I live in Queensland where the weather's pretty good and I'm being able to get over it a little bit quicker, but feeling a little bit better. But yeah, I'm coming off the back fence a little bit like Rob Bashara on Sunday today, so we'll see how we go.
Yeah, stay tuned. The boys are pretty fired up in here pre-show, so we'll see if they carry that over. But, Coach, you might have to strap on the boots this Sunday. I saw the Broncos have got more injuries. So, South Logan, who they got this week?
We've got the Northern Pride this week, and they've basically taken all our players. So, yeah, we're bare minimum this week, I reckon.
There are big changes to the West Tigers side. We'll get there in 5 or 10 minutes. But, Rob, there are big changes on this set. No Steve, no Gary. Is that performance-related or is it just forced changes injury tonight?
It is Gary being a good father. I think he's got a function for his daughter tonight, and Steve's got some work issues. He was a late withdrawal, but, yeah, happy to fill in.
I thought you might have been the one demoted or dropped tonight. I thought Steve got the better of you on Sunday night, but you've rewatched every set of the game, so you've come in prepared.
Absolute rubbish. Steve, Gary, Adel, Rob Jr., they can all come against me. They need 4 in a tackle to push me back. I stick by my views, and rewatching the game today, I do not budge 1 inch. But they're entitled to their opinion, and they're allowed to be wrong.
Okay, well, they can't rebut today because they're not here. But, Junior, you made it out alive of Shark Park. I warned you not to go, but you did. What was the experience like there?
It wasn't too bad. That's probably in my opinion, I've been to Brookvale now, Leichhardt, and now Shark Park. I think it's better than Brookvale. It's a nice area there. Not good to lose 52-10. So good day with the daughter, but
we will spend the last 10 minutes of the show today just recapping some of the banter we had on Sunday night or arguments we had around that game. But just to the injury news first, some bad news that we sort of predicted on Sunday. Adam Dewey out for the next 6 weeks, Coach, according to the club website, and Samuel Fainu out for 12 weeks. You've talked about being, the good teams are system teams. This is going to be a real test, a lot of adversity.
Yeah, and Adam's obviously a big loss because of his running through it, but look, we get a full week of Jerome and Jock preparing together. There'll be a plan around, the type of footy they want to play with those two and what the system actually looks like. So, with a little bit of preparation, I don't think that's going to be as big of a loss as Sammy Miller's impact's going to be on the left edge for us. So, yeah, it's a challenge, but one we've got to be able to take head on.
I know you speak about training programs a lot and how they're set in stone, but do ever coaches do something like on the spur of a moment for a week, whether you get flogged or you think the boys need to freshen up, whether it's extra contact or even a day away from football? Do they change things up every now and then, or it's just sticking to the structure that you laid out in the preseason retraining?
Depends on the scenario. Sometimes you don't want to show, obviously after a big loss last week and the way we've been going, you probably don't want to change too much, but only the coaches know. They'll understand the settings. They'll understand the environment. I think from my perspective, looking outside in, Benji's made his statement, hasn't he? He's made some significant changes. So I reckon that's all. Not much needed to be said. It's probably, pay attention to Teamlist Tuesday and we'll go from there.
Adam avoids surgery. I guess that's good news, but Samuela for 12 weeks, that's not ideal given we're short in the back row.
They're both huge losses. They contribute a lot to our attacking points. Like literally, Samuel is in every try, Adam's in every try, Jareem's probably the third best person in every try, and we're missing Appy who creates that variety. So absolutely massive in terms of the amount of points we can potentially score, but it just has to be next man up. Whether we believe we're going to get it done or not, this is a really good opportunity for a lot of these players that are in there. I know you'll go through the team shortly, Eddie, but if you look at that starting team, it's basically 7 out of 13 of who we would have picked at the start of the year. So there are 6 blokes there that it's literally half the team out.
I know coaches have to speak about next man up mentality and not using excuses. They can be reasons, but as a fan, when you've got 5 key starters out, you have to have changed expectations, don't you?
It depends what type of fan you are. If you're more half glass empty, then yeah, I'm sure you will.
What are you, Junior? You're the half full, so your expectations are still top 4?
I think the glass is what it is. I don't look at it half full or half empty. I just think, like Dad said, we've got to have that next man up mentality. I do see your points, but Samuela, even though Adam's probably our best player this season, Samuel is probably the one that's more irreplaceable because I feel like the depth with Latu and Jock being there, we can kind of replace what we're doing there, but Samuela's just been such a threat on the left edge that he's going to be a huge loss.
I did even see in the injury update it says Jareen Buller still 5 weeks. So if you look at that, we've got 2 games before a bye. Then we've got Penrith and Canterbury, or Canterbury and Penrith, not sure which order after the bye. What's the pass mark the next 4 games, given our injury toll?
Look, any win we get is a bonus. We've got the positive ledger now. What are we, 5-3? So any win we can snag. But I tell you what, trying to be logical about the whole thing, if you don't beat Melbourne off losing 7 games in a row, regardless of who we play, and no one's coming back in the immediate future, well, how do you beat Manly the week after? So wouldn't have minded 3 buys back-to-back to help the boys, heal from their injuries. But as you guys said about Samuela, it's not just his attacking threat. He's massive in defence. He's great under the attacking kick. He's literally the guy we go to for the short goal line dropout to try and regain it. He's an absolutely huge loss, as is Adam. I'm not going to undersell Adam. Like, we saw what Adam did with 1 touch on Sunday against Cronulla. So they're massive outs. We've got 3/4 of our spine out. Jerome Hughes is back. They've got their full spine in Melbourne. That's really a massive difference in the 2 teams.
You did say on Sunday, Coach, we're not the only club that's been going through this. I'm just digressing a little. Is that the NRL has obviously sped up the game massively this season, and we've seen a lot of high points, and some guys have said it's like touch football out there. Is the high injury tolls of a lot of clubs to do with the speed of the game? I know we've had some freaky ones, like you can't predict 3 dislocated shoulders, but do you think the overall injury toll of a lot of clubs has to do with the speed the game is these days?
I mean, I'm not sure. It's going to be one of those things that people smarter than us are going to be able to assess that. But yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest. It's a fascinating one because they're very common injuries, the ones we're seeing at the moment. So yeah, it's a hard question to answer, really. I mean, I'm not sure, but the evidence says otherwise, doesn't it? Like, it says that it probably is something to do with what's going on in the game. Gus Gould, our best mate, Gus Gould, he actually said something a few weeks ago that I actually agree with. I think it's the lack of some of the restrictions they've put into training and some of the stuff around preseason, I believe, is what's causing this, because there is so many restrictions at the moment with breaks and times and amount of contact you can do and all that sort of stuff. I think that's got a big part to play in it as well.
I reckon Gus would doubly hate the way the game's playing, because I think the Canterbury squad that he put together was probably more suited under the old rules, Rob. Like some of those teams at Melbourne and Canterbury who have dominated in the past defensively and the wrestle and are struggling this year.
The 6 again certainly suit the attacking teams, and if you get 12 tackles in a row to a team that's really good with the ball, they'll probably have 5 or 6 shots at you. You go to a more defensive structured team, they might have 3 or 4 shots at you. They're too busy sort of play after play and then setting up on that third play. So again, it doesn't suit Canterbury too much, but look, Canterbury's defence really fell apart from the middle of last year. So they were travelling gangbusters first third of the season and they fell apart. So not really worried about Canterbury, but yeah, it is what it is with them. They're struggling in attack this year.
Do you, as a neutral, enjoy these high-scoring matchups? Like we had probably 10 or 15 years in the 2010s of wrestleathons and low-scoring games. I thought they had the balance right last year, and this year it's a little bit tilted towards attack.
I don't enjoy rugby league much at all, to be honest, the last couple of years, not just because of how the Tigers have been doing. I just think the way the game, as someone that used to referee, I think the way the game is refereed now, it's not officiated properly, and I think it ruins the game. I don't like the whole safety first, all that sort of stuff. I prefer about 15 years ago when rugby league was still well and alive. So
I will say one thing, Eddie. There have been 2 high-scoring games this year that you might call them touch footy games, and I think they were completely different. And I don't know if Adel disagrees or not. The game on Sunday with Newcastle and South, just re-watching that very late on Sunday night, even though I got to see a bit of it at the pub, I actually enjoyed that. I thought that was like a pretty good game, even though there was some soft defence. The Canberra, I think it was Canberra and Cronulla in Canberra, that just looked like Oztag. Like there were probably as many bomb tries as there were tries scored. So it just depends on the style of game. I still like a low-scoring game.
It's attitude, because you know what, on the week, like everyone comes up with this, and don't get me started on what Junior said. Like I think everyone's a little bit nostalgic with all that sort of stuff. The game is absolutely booming at the moment, and anyone that says otherwise, the numbers the NRL are going to present to you will tell you otherwise. The Rabbitohs Knights game on the weekend, there was 5 60-0 calls in the game. 5.
It was a great game, though.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like the whole, and I read so much on social media about this is what the NRL want, this is what they've created. Well, it's not the 6 again rule. At the end of the day, we've proven it. Penrith have proven it. If you've got the right attitude and you approach the game the right way, you can give away as many 6 to goes as possible. You can do things against Canberra. How many times did we get 6 to go on tackle 5 and we defended 12 tackles in a row? It's all about what's in here. It's about how you apply yourself and the type of standards you have as a team and as a club. Everything else is an excuse, as far as I'm concerned.
I don't disagree that the game's booming. I mean, they almost had a full sellout for all 8 games last weekend or the weekend before. My issue with the game is, like I said, the way it's officiated. I don't like the rules that are being put in place. The whole disruptor, escort, Mitchell Moses gets tapped on the chin and it's a sin bin. Like that's what I don't like about the game.
That's,
like I miss when
that's
the game.
the reality. That's the reality, Junior, of I mean, you look at the NFL now, you look at the NBA, you 100%. Look at AFL. That's, you know what it is? It's actually modern society, and we just can't. I mean, like I said today, someone said to me, I'm always positive. But the opposite of positive is negative. Like, the reality is you either go with it and you enjoy it, you don't stress over it, or you beat yourself up and you get the shits and you go to sleep at night like Rob did on Sunday night, angry and upset.
I was going to say, I wonder who he's talking about on this panel.
He's right. He's right.
You don't. You just move forward. Like, the sun's going to go up the next day. Everything's going to be okay. We can lose the next 5 games straight, get all our boys back and go on a 6-game run streak. Anything is possible in world, in life, and in rugby league.
But that's why it's booming, Adel, because people love rugby league and they'd prefer to love a shit product of rugby league as opposed to no rugby league at all. So the game was definitely better when Simon Dwyer could take off Jared Waerea-Hargreaves' head and it's play on.
Let's get back to Eddie.
All right, let's push the Dream Buller re-signing to the back of the show because that's great news for the club. But let's get on to the game preview. Before we do that, we've got a new sponsor for the midweek show, Mirko Renovations. We don't just renovate, we bring your vision to life. Whether it's a modern kitchen, a luxury bathroom, or a full home makeover, our team delivers high-quality craftsmanship with attention to every detail. We pride ourselves on being reliable, transparent, and easy to work with. No surprises, just results you'll love. From concept to completion, Mirko Renovations handles it all. So a new segment in the midweek pod will be Mirko matchup, and Junior's in charge of that today. So I'll get to that in a minute. But let's put the West Tigers team up on the screen. Some big changes, some forced ones, and a couple of Benji reshuffles. We have Heath Mason at fullback, pushing Sania Taruva back to the wing. No Tavana. Stafford Toa is replaced by Patrick Herbert. Sione Fainu replaces Samuela Fainu on the left back row, I imagine. And Bunty Afoa, Rob, may get his first crack on the bench. He's named at number 15. Do you like the team, and were you surprised?
I don't like the team but I will say Benji didn't really have much choice. He's getting to the bottom rung of some of those players. I don't know what number we're up to, but it seems like we're using, in terms of that extended bench, player 25 or player 26. It looks like we're getting quite deep. I do like one thing, and that's Taruva being back at right wing. I think he made the right decisions dropping the young winger Tavana and Toa. I don't think we'll see Toa again for a long, long time. Toa might have played himself out of his next contract. He's just not the player he was at the start of last year. Maybe we need to put Valentine Holmes up against him. I don't know what Adel thinks. I'm not a fan of Sione on the edge, Adel, and I'll let you go through that. But I remember last time he played there, I thought he missed quite a few tackles when he was in that position. I think he's more suited to the middle. I don't know what's wrong with Tony Suka. I'm assuming he's injured, but there doesn't seem to be anything on the website, or unless you guys can find something there. I thought Suka did quite.
No, he's been named the New South Wales Cup.
Well, I don't know why he got dropped, because I think he's the best option of what's there. I didn't like what Seyfarth did when he was on the right edge when he came on before he shifted back to the middle in the last 8 minutes. But Bunty Afoa, it's just an unknown. We've got to see what he does. I take Adel's point. Like Adel says, he runs really hard. He's like the off-the-back fence sort of runner, but he's got a few issues with lateral movement, has a slow play the ball. But he's got an opportunity now. So he's got to, hopefully be able to step up and take it. And we just have to do the best we can. But very happy with Taruva being back on the right wing. We'll go into some details later. I'm not crazy about Heath Mason at fullback, only because of his inability that he's shown under the high ball in previous years. So if he can handle the high ball, I think he's got a decent running game. He's not a great defender at fullback, but most fullbacks aren't great defenders at fullback. So as long as he just does a job, he's got his opportunity. That's all I can say. We cheer him on whether we win or lose, but if you're a worrywart like me, or we'd have no water in our glass if it was talking glass half empty. We'd just go to Melbourne and hope we win. But if we can't beat them off losing 7 in a row, we're never beating them.
Your take on the team named?
Like Dad said, it's probably the best thing that we could throw out there. I'm not a fan of Heath Mason or Tristan Hope at all. I would have liked to have seen Latu named at hooker, but I don't know if he can even play 80 minutes there. I don't think it's a fair ask of him. We're just short on troops and doing the best we can. I think the only positive is I know that Melbourne have their full spine, but this year Melbourne have proven that they're not the same Melbourne that they've been in previous years. And I don't like their team much either. So I'll give you a stat. Trent Liero hasn't won a game this year, and he's starting at lock. So I just don't like their team in general.
Coach, I think another thing you might have predicted Sunday night, Benji's press conference, he said, I can accept football errors, but not effort, lack of effort. Is that potentially why Stafford's not there?
I think he must have just decided the right edge defence efforts weren't up to scratch. That's what it looks like to me. The whole right edges, besides Jock, have been dropped completely out of the side. And I'll say that openly this week, I think they've been dropped. And I think that's a statement. Sometimes as a coach, you've got to, like I said earlier in the show, you've got to make a statement about what you do with the team. So he's done that this week. It's an interesting one. Rob, I get your point about Sione. I don't think Sione will play 80 minutes in the back row. I think when there's a middle rotation, I think Seyfarth will come on potentially and play in the back row, or they'll interchange at different parts of the game, which I remember them doing at some stage last year. But the key with that is he's gone to the left edge. So he's going to be with Jerome, Taylor and Luke, who have been our most consistent combination when they're together on that left edge. So I think he'll be fine.
Why do you think he's put Mason at number one, Coach? Do you think it's as much about getting Taruva back onto the wing or because of Tavana's struggles on Sunday?
Yeah, I think it was more about making sure the right edge has one of their leaders. I mean, you don't have – realistically, you've got Kai Pearce-Paul as your four-man and you've got your winger now. It's just working on those two guys in between and helping them as much as you can. So I think it's about putting a little bit of solidarity to the right edge. I did see one of our resident experts on social media have a crack at Benji for not playing about picking Heath Mason and doing him a disservice because he hasn't had any reps, which none of us know because we don't go to training besides Steve, basically. But then also argue that so for 20 minutes argue that he should be playing fullback, but then saying Luke should be playing fullback, and we haven't seen Luke at fullback since I think he was playing at Westfields, probably, because at the club he's been playing centre. And I'm not exaggerating. Like,
who is this person, mate? Who is the person?
Want me to read the tweet out?
Everybody knows who our resident social media expert is. I've had a crack at him before.
Oh, in BWT.
I'll read it out then, Rob. He says nothing but West Tigers on Twitter. He said, still think Heath Mason holds a lot of value as a utility. Can't help but think you're doing him a disservice given he needed a lot of reps at this, and this was going to be the plan. Spent most of the year in front line instead in cup. If you pivot from Taruva at fullback, surely it would be to Luke. That's what Adel's having a crack at. I mean, Luke would have played less.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I'd be looking at it from, if I was Heath Mason, I'd be like saying this is a great opportunity for me. Even if I don't have a future at West Tigers, I can showcase my abilities. If I have a great game, someone else might want to pick me up at Perth or a Papua New Guinea or whatever as a backup, as depth. So I don't think it's doing anyone a disservice when you're giving someone an opportunity. That is actually ridiculous. I never knew what the statement was.
And some of the conversations around some of our, I know you guys have told me not to call the M word and not to say things about certain fans, but
Manly fans?
No, our fans.
I know.
Like so many people like Jack Attard should be playing fullback, and I'm sitting there going, "Do you watch New South Wales Cup? Like we just had a crack at Tino Tavana this week about being under the high ball. Have we watched Jack Attard play? And you want to talk about doing a disservice? Jack Attard is 2 years away from playing first grade as a fully fledged fullback. Defensively, the poor kid has got a lot to go. He's come out of SG Ball last year at Penrith. He's got a long way to go. Okay, I know we will watch the highlights reels of him in attack, and they are fantastic. He's a dynamic carrier of the football. But he is not ready. The same way Heath Mason wasn't ready a couple of years ago and we had to use him is the same way Jack Attard. The club is no longer in that position. We need to throw kids to the wolves to play spine positions. If you were talking about a winger or a guy maybe coming off the bench and playing a bit of minutes in the back row or in the front row, you can sort of live with that. But telling a kid to come and play fullback after basically in his first year as a first grader, he's not even a top 30, he's a development player. And I'm talking about a lot of fans. I'm not talking about some fans, and it's vocal fans who are always on social media. I know I should get off social media, but I just can't help myself. I love the club too much. Just some of the comments, it's blowing my mind, some of the people, some of the things they're saying, and I wish I could call them out more, but I can't.
Adel, I just want to ask you on that because I know you're talking about not throwing young kids to the wolves, especially if they play in the spine. Obviously, everyone on social media has been mentioning Jared Haywood, and obviously Tristan Hope isn't the best replacement. I think you kind of share that view as well. Is he someone that you would give a crack? I know what you just said about Atard being too young, and I think Gary's mentioned that Jared and his family don't think he's ready yet. But is that something you do just to fill that problem of Tristan Hope playing hooker, or because he's not, he can play?
I'll say this here, Junior, and Rob Senior will know this. We played Robbie Farah in first grade at 18. Okay, Robbie Farah, but Robbie Farah had played international rugby league prior to that against men, and physically he wasn't as small as Jared. There is so much more to rugby league than just saying, "Hey, he's a good footballer. Let's put him in first grade and play." But it's also the fact that when we did that with Robbie, I think it was 2003, wasn't it, Rob?
Yep.
You know, the Tigers were, down the bottom. We are now in a position with all the hard work we've put in through Benji, through Richo, through now Sean and everybody involved in the club, Shannon Gallan in particular, I'm glad Gary mentioned him on the weekend because he's the unsung hero of our club at the moment that nobody knows about. Some of the work those guys are putting have put us in a position now where we should not have to put these kids in these positions. So everybody needs to chill with that. Let Jared, let Jack, let these kids develop. Okay, let them play through the grades, and then we'll concentrate on that a little bit later. Let's throw Patrick Herbert. Look, I'm not a fan of Patrick Herbert, but I would rather Patrick Herbert playing fullback than Jack Adard. That's how ridiculous it is because I don't want these kids to be burnt. This is the position the club used to be in. We have put ourselves in a position from a squad perspective and from a club perspective where we can say to these kids, just like Melbourne did with Harry Grant back in the day before he come to us, he played Q Cup. They left him in Q Cup. Harry Grant, one of the great hookers of the game. If he was at our club, we played him. He wasn't ready that Melbourne didn't think. We did him a service, but he played the year before in Cup. Let these kids develop. Let the senior guys, even if they're not talented enough, let them do the hard yards and cover us through these Band-Aid periods, and then we'll be okay as a club. We don't have to worry about winning a game 1 week. There's so much bigger picture right now. We've just signed how many players to 4 or 5 year deals? It's big picture for our club at the moment.
Coach has certainly got his voice back tonight, which is good to see.
He's right, Eddie. You were at the Parramatta game when we went to Bankwest Stadium. When was it? A month ago. I don't know if you got to see the second half of Cup. So that was actually a really good thing for me to watch second half of Cup. I got to see Tony Suka score a try.
That's the thing, though. But if you see, like when he's talking about Adard, if you just see the highlights, you see him score one or two tries. We saw that. Magnificent. And the coach is talking about he sees the whole game.
But he literally summed it up perfectly because if you saw those highlights from the second half, Adard was brilliant, and the way he could even ball play as well for a fullback. But he made 2 tackles, or attempted tackles, that I should say, that Parramatta scored tries off, that you just said, you know what, you can't castigate the bloke. He's just young and he's not ready yet and he's not built. But what he can do on the ball side of things, yeah, you'd play him at fullback. But defensively and under the high ball, that would be actually throwing him to the wolves and doing him into service, as was mentioned by MBWT.
Rob seems to have a few concerns potentially about Sione on the edge. Where do you fit in that?
Yeah, I share those concerns greatly as well. I think that intercept that Jock threw in the Sharks game, and I'm not just talking about defensive concerns, that was Jock's fault. But if you look at how Sione kind of runs that line as well, it just doesn't look like he's in the right position, doesn't look like he's running the right hole, and that's what allows Nico to take the intercept. I don't think he's a back rower. He's better as a middle. I would have preferred to see Suka or Seyfarth play on that left edge, even though, like I said, I don't have much faith in them either. I just feel like that's more of their natural position than it is for Sione.
The makeup of that bench, Coach, we'll start with Latu. What do you think his role will be this week?
Yeah, my prediction this week is we unless there's injuries and something goes wrong, I think we'll roll with 16 this week. I actually said to Rob, I don't think Bunty will play. I mean, the way our bench is set up, and if he does play, he'll start. Because we all know this. I'd like to think we know this. There's no way Bunty and Royce are going to be on the field at the same time. So the way the makeup of the bench is, the only way they're going to get on the field is at the same time. So they're either going to pull something late, bring Bunty in, and take Fanua back to the bench, and because he's played that role before, or I actually think we'll only have Latu, Alex, and Royce Hunt coming on, or he plays Bunty and doesn't play Royce. But I can't see that happening. Maybe Maverick Guy gets on. I don't think I think they'll have a plan this week. I don't necessarily think it's what we expect it to be, though.
And your plan for Latu, would he play half the game with Tristan Hope, share the hooking role?
Well, it's all about possession. It's all about possession and completion. If we're competing well, we're on the front foot and we're going well. Because remember, when we did that last year against the Roosters, Tristan Hope played the whole 80 minutes. So if we can dominate possession and we can complete well and we can be on the front foot and Tristan's feeling good, he's confident and the game's going well, you probably use Latu as part of that rotation and get him at 13. If we need and Tristan needs a break, well, then you obviously put Latu on at 9. I'm not very keen on him playing 9. Like, I'm reading some of the fans who he should be starting at 9. Well, hang on a sec. Like, from where are you getting this opinion from? Like, the poor guy's a half that has come on and played 13 for us. Let's get him in his roles that he likes, and he can be a makeshift 9 at certain times.
Yeah, he is a half that would fill a role, Adel, but I think where people get that opinion is he probably has better service from dummy half than what Tristan Hope's shown. He's probably a better mover with the ball than Tristan Hope is, and he's definitely a better defender. I mean, I was at the game and I haven't watched the replay, but I felt where I agreed with Steve and Gary about losing the middle, which I know Dad disagrees. I feel like every tackle Tristan Hope was involved in, they found a way to win the tackle, even when we'd hit first. If he was involved as the second or third man, they found a way to get on top and still win the play the ball in a tackle that we had originally dominated. So I think
you are 100% right. You're 100% right. The only concern, and I said this before, and Rob knows this, I worry about Latu, not about his tackle. He can tackle. Injury? It's his tackle technique, in the middle of the field.
He does that grass cut tackle, which, who did it on the weekend?
It's fine. No, the Roosters did it.
Sam Walker did it to Katoni Staggs.
Sam Walker gets praised for chopping low on Katoni Staggs, and then Latu gave a penalty last year for it.
Let's put the Melbourne Storm team on the screen. They've still got the all-star spine, at least on paper. They haven't all been firing this year, but Jerome Hughes is back. He missed last week, I believe, with concussion. Tyrone Wishart is out injured. Couple of old Tigers there, Stefano in the front row, Sean Blaw in the back row, and of course Harry Grant there at hooker. Rob, what do you make of that Storm team? 7 losses on the bounce.
It's about as good as they can put on the field. Rob will get into some Storm deficiencies on the edge, later on. But my biggest concern with us and the Storm really is our marker defence. I think that's the one thing we really didn't touch on. Having rewatched the game today, I can't believe how bad our marker defence was. And even when we did have 2 markers, they weren't splitting. They'd go the same way. They were getting caught out. So we're really got to be on our game there. Otherwise, Harry Grant will tear us apart. Then you'll have Fa'alongo sniffing around the ruck. But I think that's the best team they can actually put on. I actually don't mind the back rowers they've got this week. They've really struggled in the back row, so much so that they dropped Joe Chan a couple of weeks ago to the bench. So, look, and they're going to be up for, this illness, unfortunately, to Craig Bellamy. It's their first game back home. We have a poor record down there, but I don't like Jerome Hughes being back. That's the one that gets me the most, because we saw what Adam Reynolds did with what was, what they call the baby Broncos, or a makeshift sort of Broncos, even though they had a lot of good players in that team. And if you've got that one half that can pull the strings and manipulate properly, as Jerome Hughes can do, we could be in trouble. But I'm definitely expecting a bounce back in our physicality. I think we're going to be up for it. I'm sure Benji showed him the tape. We weren't as bad as it looks on that second half. I'm telling you guys, we saw a few pathetic tackles and tries, but there were a number of sets that Cronulla started. I mean, we'll talk about it later, but there was a number of sets Cronulla started in our red zone and we held them out, and we don't get enough sort of, praise for that. We just look at the scoreline and they really only got away in the last 15 minutes.
Overall strengths and weaknesses of the Storm side?
Their strengths is probably their spine. Like you said, they haven't been firing this year. Their weaknesses are their edges. Their edges are probably some of the worst in the comp. Their middle's very strong. They've got the best record when it comes to letting tries through the middle. They've only let 5 tries through the middle, and they've conceded 47 this year. They've conceded 24 tries through their left edge and 18 through their right. I just want to point out, I've watched their highlights from their last 7 losses, and I've noticed that Craig Bellamy clearly doesn't have faith in his centres, because he's swapped Meaney and Howarth a couple of times. So there was, in the Souths game where they got pumped by the Bunnies, Meaney started on the left and they kept scoring, and they ended up switching Meaney and Howarth. They did it the week before against the Dolphins as well. I don't think he's got much faith in the edges. Do you want to go to the Mirko?
Okay, let's do it now.
Before you go to that, also that I think it's Moses Leo or something. He was in the centres at some stage as well, and alternating with Meaney.
I think I counted. They've had like 5 or 6 different centre where they've played different sides and been swapped around quite a bit. For the Mirko
Let's
match,
do it properly, though. Who is the Mirko matchup of the week, Junior?
the Mirko matchup for the week is the 2/5/8 for me. I think Cameron Munster for the Storm. Our right edge, as Adel pointed out earlier, is a little bit decimated. We've plugged some holes there by having Taruva and KPP in on the 1 and the 4-man. They're going to target Jock and Herbert, unfortunately. For us, it's Jerome Luai. We have troops missing on the right-hand side. Taylor May's our attacking threat on the left. Lauliti's been doing a good job finishing off tries. I think it's going to be a game for Jerome to kind of take by the horns and show that he's the $1.2 million leader that he is.
What's on your whiteboard, Coach, for a game against the Storm? Don't digress to Jerome. Just stick to the
I just hate when people say that. They mention his price tag. It just really pisses me off. That's
Just doing it from all the comments. All the comments. You know,
what's
I
your
don't
game
share
plan,
that.
Coach, for the Storm?
This week, it's about one thing for me, and it's one target and one target only. And I can live with winning or losing a football game. So we can complete over 85 to 90% this week. I'd be comfortable and I'd be confident. Look, it doesn't matter to me who we actually would be in our side this week. I've always mentioned sometimes styles make fights in rugby league. There's only one player that worries me in the Melbourne Storm this week, because this is the type of player that we've always struggled with, and that's Suafar Longo. He's the type of player that we are going to really struggle with this week. And I don't think it's about stopping him, because we won't, especially with the team we've got at the moment. It's about minimising his impact on the game. And the only way to do that is by making sure we complete well and we turn the ball over at the right parts of the field. That's all it's going to be. You're not going to stop him. He is, in games where they've been pathetic, he has still found ways 2 or 3 times to do things that opposition teams can't defend. He is an absolute freak. For as bad as Melbourne are going, the one thing I will say, the change to their team this year is the new fullback. He's been the highlight for them this year, and he's the one that we need to stop, in my eyes.
Areas they're vulnerable, Rob?
Definitely both edges, but it's a weird one because our strength is our left edge, but it's their left edge that has been most vulnerable. The rot that started for Melbourne was turning over a second-half lead against Brisbane. I think Ricky scored a couple of tries down the Melbourne left edge, and that was just like basically bashing through them. That wasn't much shape or anything. But when you run shape to their right edge, they're awful, especially Will Warbrick. He'll overcommit, so it's easy to create an overlap there. But I think something we're not taking into account, and it's hard, coming off a HIA concussion protocol, I think Kai Pearce-Paul is the guy we've got to go to. And I know we don't generally direct a lot of attack there, but we did see Luai swing to the right-hand side a couple of times with Madden, and we saw Taruva get some ball as a fullback and make a number of breaks. And if Taruva probably had a better passing game, there might have been some opportunities there. So I'd really like us to concentrate on the left edge, but it's not like the right edge is their good edge. You could actually go either way and get them.
You could go either way. Your point's right. Like, they've let just over 50% of their tries in on their left edge. I'll give not a rap, but the one thing I'll say about our right edge is yes, it's weak defensively, especially with Jock and Herbert being side by side. But I think with Mason at fullback and Herbert's shown he can attack.
Definitely.
And Mason in the past has shown he can attack. Like I said, not a big fan of either of them, but because of how bad they are defensively on their left edge, I feel like we'll be able to create some tries, maybe not with the ease that Adam and Jareem get it done, but I definitely think we'll be able to create some tries down there.
Is it a good or bad time to play him, Coach? Because you always talk about momentum and confidence. But like you say, that people are human. Like that, even guys like Cameron Munster, they look down on confidence.
Yeah, but you're lucky Rob Bashara wasn't supporting the Melbourne Storm, because they'd all be in the Yarra River the way they're going this year. Look, couple of things. First of all, and I'm reading comments, and I shouldn't be doing this.
Bless you, by the way. Bless you.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm still a bit crook.
That's okay.
Someone said on Jerome hasn't taken a game by the horn since he arrived. Go to round 1 against the Cowboys, buddy, and you'll see what he did in that game. So that's first thing. Second thing I want to say about our attack, I think with Heath playing this week, Jock will definitely be on the ball, and we'll play with a split system. So what that means is Jerome and Heath will play split halves on both sides. It doesn't necessarily mean they'll stay on the same side of the field. They'll sort of swap and share, especially off set starts where we get taps. They'll have plans on who goes what side. But you know what, guys? It's got nothing to do with attack this week. It's all about how we defend. It's all about how we complete and how we defend. We don't have to score points. We've shown this in the past. If we can grind teams for 60, 70 minutes and win the game at the back end, be in front and come the back end of the game, we'll hold teams out.
Speaking of defence, Coach, what's on your tip sheet for Harry Grant? How do we contain him?
I actually think this is going to sound crazy. I let Harry Grant play. I think the more Harry Grant takes charge of Melbourne, I actually think it actually plays against what they're good at, and that is moving the football. The more they actually move the football and the crisper they are and the more comfortable they are, I actually think and I've said this privately to people, I think Harry Grant has overplayed his hand the last couple of years, and I think that's caused a lot of the issues Melbourne have had in big games.
You agree with that?
I've heard this multiple times from Adel, and he told me this maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago. So I've actually taken a keen eye to watching Storm games, and he's right. He actually clutters up the attack, even though he does score tries from dummy half, and he can do some great things. So I'm totally on the same page as Adel from that point of view.
Jock and Jerome, first time they get to start together. Do you want to see them combining on both sides, or it's more a left-right thing this week?
I'd like to see them combining on both sides. I think regardless of who the halves are, I think I prefer when we play that style of attack. I think the one thing I will say about Jock and Jerome, because we haven't seen much of them, in the 5 or 10 minutes that they had ball in the first half last week when Adam came off, they set up that nice try for Taylor May where they linked up together, hit Samuela short. I think Jock will complement Jerome a lot, so that's why I'd like to see them play both sides. The thing I'll say in terms of game plan, off the back of what Adel said, is I feel like Melbourne hate being physical. I was a bit critical. I know I wasn't on Sunday, but in the group chat, I was a bit critical of our forwards against the Sharks. We have to be physical this game. There's no real big name forward for Melbourne that will impose their will on the game, in my opinion. I think our forwards just have to win the battle 100%. That'll be the key to our success. And I think if we can win that battle, we'll fluster them a little bit.
Yeah, I just want to add something to what Adel said earlier. We really need to stick with Melbourne for a number of reasons, but in particular, they've lost so many games at the back end of this year. I mentioned that Brisbane game earlier. They were with the Warriors maybe a month ago, and the Warriors came over the top of them. They were leading the Dolphins last week and came over the top of them. Adel will probably know a little bit more about this, but apparently they've lost a couple of their staff in the off-season in terms of their conditioning and what have you. I don't think they're the typical Craig Bellamy Melbourne Storm teams that are fitter than everyone else and beat you to the ground. I think if we are with them after 60 minutes, I totally agree with Adel. We're going to come over the top of them if we're there, because they're not the same. And we know one thing, except for this weekend that we just played, we have gone the whole 80 minutes. We've actually finished really strong in our game. So it's really important not to let them play downhill, be close enough in the contest where we can use our fitness and get over the top of them.
Do we go after Stefano, Coach? Because there's no Kamikamitha, there's no Nelson this year. And I thought teams in 2024, when Stefano played for us, really went after him because they sort of thought, well, the Tigers have got Stefano and not much else. If you get into his head early, maybe you can have an off day.
Yeah, absolutely we do. I mean, I think the forward pack as a whole, I think there'll be conversations in-house about how disappointed they would be, about last week's performance because, regardless whether the scoreline and probably the possession probably dictated this, but the Sharks did win that battle. And, Rob and I talked about at the start of the year how I thought our forward pack is one of the better forward packs in the competition. So, we'll go after him. I think we undermine Stefano a little bit. He's actually been very good for them this year. As much as we don't, want to say it, I think he's actually been really good for them. He doesn't. One thing we know about Stefano, he won't take a backward step, and if anything, he's going to be, really up for this game this week. So our boys need to stand up. That's for sure.
But we can expose him with some lateral movement too, Adel. That's always been, throughout his career, he's been a great runner of the ball. He can smash the crap out of you hard. But if you got that out in ball on him, I mean, it's been a feature since he was with the Tigers.
I'm telling you, I reckon Stefano's very happy that Coruscant's not playing this week.
100%.
Have we got the better bench, Junior? I think you've said a couple of times, sometimes a little cheat sheet to look at who you think's going to win the game is look at both teams' bench.
Yeah, I don't like our bench much this week. Like Adel said, I share the same opinion as him there. I don't even know if we'll use 4 players from our bench. I agree with him again. How can you have Bunty and Royce on at the same time? We're running a bit thin this week. From their bench, I actually really like Joe Chan. I know he's been demoted because he started the year as their right edge back rower, but I feel like the combination he has with Jerome Hughes, I think he unlocks Hughes a lot and vice versa. I think he's going to be a danger when he comes on the field, as well as Cooper Clark. He does have an error in him, Cooper Clark, but he's a strong body, so he'll be hard to handle too.
Prediction out of the game? You don't have to tell me who you think is going to win, but something you expect to see, high scoring, low scoring, somewhere in between, 6 agains, no 6 agains. Who's reffing? You always check that
Oh,
first.
shit, I haven't checked that.
Whenever I tip a scoring game, if it's high scoring or low scoring, who's the referee, Rob?
Adam G, mate. It's all over, boys.
Oh,
I've changed
God.
my tip.
Is he coaches because you don't like any of the referees, but is he the referee with the biggest ego? He just loves
Undoubtedly.
that stupid noise that goes off on the TV for 6 again. It's just blaring every 2 minutes when he's in charge.
No comment.
No comment. I thought so.
6 agains in the first 7 minutes to the Roosters against the
But
Broncos.
even when the
other
Roosters
night.
Broncos were coming back, he was still penalising them. For the
And
last
even
second
when
half.
they knocked on a try, mate,
Yeah.
if it's a no try, come back for the offside. He made sure he did everything to get the Roosters home. I'm not allowed to say that publicly, am I?
Can I just quickly jump in with something really quickly, because I'm really going at it with our fans at the moment on that chat. Just FYI, Jerome Luai has 7 try assists today, this year, in 5 games.
Munster's got 4.
Nathan Cleary, who's leading the Dally M's and is killing it, in 9 games got 11.
Cameron Munster's got 4 this year.
Like, some of the narrative around Jerome Luai, I'm not going to call. But anyways, keep going.
Let's talk about Jareen Buller re-signing Junior. Some outstanding news for the club. It's a 4-year extension. According to the Sydney Morning Herald, it's going to cost less than $1 million per year, but there are ratchet clauses where he can earn more.
Yeah, I think it's a great signing. Obviously, he's such a key part of our team and what we've done. He only debuted, in 23? 23.
Yeah,
23 made his cup debut, did he?
No, 23.
23.
Yeah.
Because we started
Manly
with Dane
Campbelltown.
Laurie. We started
Yeah.
with Dane Laurie and then he came.
Look, I know we haven't had much success the last couple of years, but I just think he's shown in such a quick time what a class player he is. I think locking him down to the end of 2030 with the May brothers, funnily enough, Benji's contract runs out at that time as well. I think it's a great thing for the club. And, by then, as Adel said, Jack Attard's probably 2 years away from starting to get some sort of minutes and being ready towards first grade. So, we're not too far away from having a good backup fullback either.
I think we had a debate in here last year with Coach when he was in Sydney about, is he a top 8 fullback in the NRL? Can he be one of the top few fullbacks over the next few years in the NRL?
Well, to refresh everyone's memory on that debate, I think Adel said at the time he wouldn't have swapped him for anyone except Latrell Mitchell, who was playing fullback at the time. For us, I think he's like a top 4 fullback maybe at worst, but I can understand when people say other fullbacks are better, but when they start comparing him to KO Weeks and guys like that, I just start getting a little bit shitty because I think we would have been more euphoric if we didn't have all these injuries and cop a 42-point loss, but it's a significant day for the club. I'm just waiting for you, Eddie, to say, looking at, the glass half full, half empty stuff, 2030, mate, what are we going to do? They're all going to come off contract at one time. I'm surprised you haven't mentioned that yet.
I'll just mention, because you mentioned KO Weeks, because I found it interesting. When they were previewing the Tigers against the Raiders, they actually brought up a stat, and since 2024, Jareen Buller has 23 tries to Weeks' 18, 20 try assists to Weeks' 12. He averages 144 metres to Weeks' 140. The only area Weeks beats him is the tackle bus. He's had 222 to Buller's 164.
But as important as Buller is for us, he's going to get better. We know he hasn't reached his potential yet. And I will put one negative on it. The first year he came in, Adel, in 2023, I never seen a kid in his first year at fullback make so many try-saving tackles. That's the one aspect we don't see as much from him in the last couple of years. He's missed quite a few tackles. Again, that's just being hypercritical, but in terms of his attack, his ball playing's coming on now. He's faster. He looks stronger. He only like that ball he dropped against Canberra. That's a Haley's Comet moment. You won't see that again for 10 years. Such a simple drop. I think he's a great player, and it's a significant signing for the club. And you mentioned some names earlier, Adel, but obviously we've got to congratulate Benji, Sean,
Shannon Gallant.
Shannon Gallant as well. These are really good signings.
Because he's so silky or creamy, as he's been described as by our good
Fluid.
mate, Coach, does perhaps his potential leadership qualities and toughness go underrated because of the style of play that he goes out there with?
Well, I don't even think it's more about his football. If you listen to his interview he did on the Mayday podcast, they talked about how he's the connection of the team. He connects the younger blokes with the older blokes, and that is so important. I actually heard that Jesse Arthurs is that guy at Brisbane, which is, fascinating that he was on the outer at the start of this year. But every team has that guy sort of that sits right in the middle of being the young bloke to the old bloke. the younger blokes to the older blokes. So you can tell, and I thought Terrell was very raw and genuine about. I'm paraphrasing here, but he basically said it'd be devastating if we lost him, and you could almost feel the emotion of, he's someone they didn't want to lose. Like they wanted him to do the best for what was for him, but they really wanted him at the club. So again, like we don't get to get this access on the inside, but from everything you hear and everything the players talk about, he must be so important to that group. They must have a lot of love for him.
100%. All right, boys, let's talk back to the last 5 or 10 minutes on that Sharks game. Rob, you did a rewatch of every set today. We don't have time to go through every set, but you were adamant on Sunday night that it was nothing to do with the forward pack and it was all one man's fault. Are you going to be as adamant tonight after that rewatch?
I'll tone it down a little bit. There was a poor pass from Taylor May in our quarter line that led to the try that went to 18-0, but the bottom line was I don't even think they score a point if we weren't so poor in turning over the ball in our own quarter line all half. I think, when you talk about line speed, there's certain areas of the field where you really want to go extra hard in line speed. Like when they're trying to come out off their own line, I thought our line speed was brilliant. And in some tackles, we were driving them back. But when you're running into a wind, I think the criticism of the line speed is why we lost it. Undoubtedly, the second half was poor. Apparently, we set an NRL record for 3 tackles in Cronulla's half for the whole 40 minutes. It's never been worse than that. But if you look at the game, and again, I'm trying to actually be positive instead of being as ultra negative as I was Sunday night. With 15 minutes left on the clock, we're down 30-10. Okay, it's literally like 4 tries in the last 14 and a half minutes. The only time we conceded 4 tries in the whole year was against Newcastle, and that was with a couple of late tries at Campbelltown. So some of those tries, like the last try was off a bomb that really I think was a poor challenge. It should have been a penalty to us. The second last try was an intercept to Nico Hines. There's 12 points he can put away. A couple of drop balls from bombs from Tavana. They did score a couple of good tries, and there was some with a couple of pathetic tackles from us. But we seemed to score at will in the first half when we went down there. We made clean line breaks, Eddie. We had a clean line break to Jock Madden when I think he threw an intercept when he tried to get it over Nico Hines' head. There was another incident where maybe if Taylor May was able to do a bat on to Luke Laulii, we would have gone 14-12 with a kick to come. The first half wasn't all doom and gloom. I just think if we didn't have a burst water pipe, at one end of the field, we would have been ahead at halftime and maybe we would have got some confidence and gone on with it in the second half. You never know. And I know that sounds crazy when you come off a 42-point loss, but we've always said Cronulla's a great downhill team. And honestly, they looked like they were in a jog trot the last 20 minutes. They had that much possession. It was awful.
Have you got any pushback on Senior, what he said there?
I just still don't understand the point of where he can't accept our middles weren't their usual selves. I mean, you pointed out a couple of times today that we were kicking from our 40-metre line, so we didn't make the average set metres that we usually make. I felt like, and I only watched it live, I haven't seen a replay, but I felt like they found a way to win every tackle, even when our contact was good. They found a way to get on top in that wrestle and get a good play of the ball.
But those 2 kicks you're talking about, like the fullback and the winger, Stone Street and Kennedy, like literally the first couple, they're tackled 34 metres out from their own line. They've got a good start to the set. Okay, let me do it in reverse. Okay, so I've listened to West Tigers Faithful podcast. They reckon Fanua Bolo was one of our best players. We've acknowledged that Twal was one of our best players. I think Terrell May did a pretty decent job. Yep. We all said Tony Suka. Well, but all our best players seem to be forwards. So how was the forward pack that bad?
I disagree with that. I think our best players were our left edge. Everyone's going to criticise me.
Was our best player.
I was going to say.
Why are you saying left edge?
No one wants to admit it. Jerome Luai was our best player, but our hate of the fact that what happened earlier in the week want to talk otherwise.
I got him second.
Our best player.
I got Taylor May as our best, and then Jerome.
But Taylor May, love him. He's a great strike player. You know the amount of errors he made in that game. Like it was not just the pass.
He made 2 errors.
The pass, the discipline. There was other.
The discipline's not his fault, but like anyone.
It's a last tackle, mate.
Hold on a second. Anyone with a brain can see that he got pushed first. I expect our players to stand up for themselves, especially when we need a spark and stuff like that. The only thing I disagree with, I agree Tavana was definitely poor on Sunday. Where I disagree with you is, if I heard correctly, you blamed the loss on one player. Now, I can never, with the exception of one circumstance, blame one player. Where I'll blame one player is if on the full-time hooter, someone drops the ball over the
game
line.
against the Titans that we lost
you know
8-6.
what I mean?
I know what you mean,
if
but-
you want to blame a player because they had potential to score a match-winning try and they dropped it, I can cop a fan saying there. But to blame a 42-point loss because a winger made 6 errors in the game, which is a huge amount. He dropped 4 bombs and had 2 handling errors.
There's other errors that don't
I'll
count as
finish.
errors. I'll let you finish, but
Okay.
there's other errors that won't be technically put on the board as an error.
Where we lost the game is we didn't dominate the middle. Doesn't mean we were absolute crap in the middle. We
I
just didn't
disagree,
do the
Junior.
job. Hold on.
I disagree,
done.
Junior.
I'm not done yet.
Okay.
Let me finish. I'll tell you why.
You've been talking for a long time.
Okay, we'll give you a go when he finishes.
I haven't because I've been listening to him explain, but it's all good. Anyway, we lost it in the middle, and then once we lost it in the middle, they attacked reserve graders on our right edge. You look at the defensive efforts of Jock Madden, Stafford Toa, the disconnection between Tavana and Toa. That's where we got our tries let in. How does a team let in 9 tries and 8 of them are on one side? Not one try came on Jerome Luai and Taylor May's side, who everyone's hypercritical of. We had 1 try through the middle where Royce Hunt had hands on hips. 8 tries on that right side, but we're blaming dropped bombs.
Adel?
I'll tell you something, and this is for everybody. You put yourself in the position of those middles and having to defend as much as you defend. I don't care what you can give me the Australian forward pack; they're not going to be able to match it. Okay. The reality is, if you want me to be brutally honest, and this is where I don't think anyone wants to credit Benji, is our right edge cost us the game on the weekend. You can put Tavana in that, right? They have a job to do. And there's a reason why they're all not there this week. I mean, Jock's there. I actually think Jock's only there because, you know what, you want to talk about moments in the game? At 10-6, we're on top. We're coming downhill. We play normal shape. The ball comes out to the back to the Jock, and he drops the ball. And on top of that, he drops the ball, lets the ball go behind him, and they jump on it before him. So if we want to talk about, turning points in the game, that was a big turning point. But the reality is that our right edge could not resist. Like, they had no resistance at all. And that's why Suka, Stafford Toa, and Tavana are not playing this weekend. The only reason I think that Jock's playing this weekend is that I think Benji feels like he's earned it. He's earned the opportunity to get another chance to go again this week. But he'd want to be up for it defensively this weekend as well, because if he's not, that's what I'm seeing is what the standard. When Benji talks about standards and efforts, it's not about our attack. It's about our defence. And the reality is our forwards didn't get nominated. What happened was every time we actually resisted him, we made a shit error.
Thank you.
Whether it was an offload,
Thank you.
whether it was a poor mistake, just really silly stuff. And that's what Benji said. He said that we didn't want to go through the pain and cop the punishment like we did against Canberra the previous week. We wanted to take the soft option. The soft option was trying to get an offload. The soft option was looking to come up with the big play immediately. We didn't want to do that last week, and that was the reason why we lost that game.
All right. Well, speaking about pain, you guys are going to have to put up with a new segment I've come up with.
Here you go.
It's called Eddie's Tears.
Eddie's tears.
Eddie's Tears. I've got 4 tiers, and Coach, you can call me a moron now if you want, because I got 4 tiers, and you can tell me if you agree or disagree. Tier 1, so the 4 best teams. I thought about putting a 5th in there.
Yep.
I'll go through it all. Penrith, the Broncos, the Warriors, and the Roosters. I reckon that will be the top 4 this year. Tier 2, all the mid-range teams. I've got 10 teams there. So that's 14. No, I've got 9 teams. 9 teams.
9, yep.
Tier 3, I've got the Storm, the Eels, and the Titans. I don't think any of them can make the 8. And Tier 4, I've got the Dragons by themselves. You go first. What's the worst thing I said there?
I'll go 5 tiers. I'll split your first tier up into 2 and have Penrith and Brisbane above
sure.
that. I think Brisbane, even with that loss the other night, showed they are made of something different to the Roosters. The Roosters, they're just missing something, guys. They have an abundance of ability.
They'll be
and
top
attack.
4 though, won't they?
They'll probably be top 4, but I think the best way I can describe the Roosters is what Cronulla have been the last 3 years. They're 100% going to be in the finals, and as soon as they come up with anyone that's got made of steel, like the Brisbane Broncos or the Panthers, they're going to get towed at full strength.
Your reaction to my tiers, Junior?
Yeah.
Not a fan. That won't be the top 4. Penrith, Brisbane, Warriors, Roosters.
Well, I think factoring out injuries, we probably drop a tier. I think if we had our team...
But that's what I'm factoring in.
Of course. I think the Rabbits are a little bit hard done by.
Yeah,
I had them
probably-
in before they lost on the weekend. I just dropped them down.
Yeah, I think, like I said, everyone's entitled to bad performance here and there, even the top 4 sides. I mean, the Bulldogs belted Penrith and they're still at everyone's top of the ladder. It's not causing any alarm bells. So, yeah, I'd probably throw the Rabbits in that top tier and that's about it.
Coach, any smokies there in that top 4 or 5 outside of those 4 and then the Rabbits? I know you're going to say us. We can be in the top 4 in our day, but any teams that could come from back in the pack, teams like maybe the Knights or the Dolphins who only have 3 wins but have been competitive in a lot of games?
Well, I will say this. The Knights are 2 from 2 when Dylan Brown and Caleb Honga have played. So they're going to be a fascinating one. And Justin Holbrook is a very, very good coach. I consider him very similar to Andrew Webster. I know he went to the Titans, but nobody wins at the Titans. I'm just going to cough. Just give me a sec.
You're right.
I think South Sydney are up there, Rob. I think that they're going to be with the Broncos and the Panthers. I agree with Rob, though. They're the top 2 by a country mile. Like, I'd put my house on those 2. Should I call the Broncos us? We? Should I say we?
You can if you want.
I just think the Broncos, in terms of Penrith, the Penrith want to play anyone in the comp but the Broncos in a grand final. Because if Reece Walsh does what he did last grand final, a few of those other guys, they actually have the ability, to score tries that other teams can't. But Penrith against like a Roosters, we saw that earlier this year. Unless maybe the Roosters are just warming up into it and they'll get a little bit stiffer with their defence later in the year. But they just look soft to me, mate. They were down 18-0 after not long against Cronulla in Perth the other week.
It's crazy.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, it's crazy to say this. Brisbane are better this year than what they were last year. I mean, remember last year when they had the injuries in the halves?
Yeah.
Yes, they covered it. They got my man Tom Duffy comes in last week and looked like they even became a better football side. They're absolutely the team to beat in my eyes this year. The Broncos are absolutely the team to beat. I think Penrith got off to a wonderful start, which, it was probably expected considering they had a full off-season. But I think come the back end of the year, I think the Broncos are absolutely the team to beat.
All right, to finish, I've got 5 teams. Will they make the 8 or not? Your answers might have changed from a few weeks ago. Cowboys.
No.
Bulldogs.
No.
Sharks.
Yes, but flat track bullies.
Raiders.
50-50.
Tigers.
Depends on injuries. If we can just get Buller back and Appy back and don't lose anyone else, that's the other thing. Like, what if we're getting injuries every week, guys? I think right now you'd have to lean that we're not, and that's crazy because 2 weeks ago, I would 100% say if you didn't think we're a top 4 chance, you're an idiot. And that just shows you how quickly things can change with injuries.
I know I'm looking into the future a lot here, but I think there's 3 spots potentially that can be available in the 8 later in the year, and of those 5 teams there, Cowboys, Bulldogs, Sharks, Raiders, Tigers, which ones make it? If you had to put your neck on the line now, which I'm asking you to do.
Bulldogs.
Cowboys, Bulldogs, Sharks, Raiders, Tigers.
I don't think the Raiders will make it. I don't think the Bulldogs will make it. Right now, for me, the top 8 is made up of 8 of the top 10 teams right now. So Panthers, Warriors, Roosters, Rabbits, Tigers, Cowboys, Sea Eagles, Sharks, Broncos, and Knights. I think, Panthers, Warriors, Roosters, Rabbits, definitely in, and Broncos. And then, the last 3 spots are being fought out between us, the Cowboys, the Eagles, Knights.
I forgot about Manly. What about Manly, Coach? Yes or no? Do they make the 8?
No.
Okay.
I know why you says no too.
Why?
You can't have a hooker like Brandon Wakeham and make the 8, can you?
No, I just said no because all I care about is us making the 8. Us as in Broncos and Tigers.
Fair point. All right, boys. Well, this Sunday it's on. Gary did want to give a shout out. There's an event on for anyone that is in Melbourne this week that's supporting the West Tigers. An event that starts at 11:30 a.m. It's at a pub in Melbourne. I read it out here. After an incredible start to 2026, the mighty West Tigers head down to take on Melbourne, blah, blah, blah. We have reserved an area of tables at the Precinct Hotel in Richmond. That's 60 Swan Street, Richmond. 8 to 10 minutes walk away from Amy Park and just next to Richmond Station to get the Tiger Army together. Have some food and drink before heading to the game. Pub opens at 11:30. The game is at 2 o'clock, whether you're a Tigers fan or Melbourne fan, blah, blah, blah. So if you can get to that, that'd be great. Steve went down last year and we only lost 64-0, so it couldn't be any worse than that, Rob.
It couldn't be any worse. Well, I hope it's not the same this year. Otherwise, we'll call it a Mother's Day massacre. But just on that, to all the mothers out there this weekend, have a great Mother's Day, particularly my mum, my mother-in-law and my wife.
Big shout out,
and
Coach.
And my daughter-in-law before he smashes me.
How come you're not at training today, Coach, by the way? It's great to have you on, but I just realised usually at training on Tuesday, if you guys gone soft or you're taking it easy after a win, no training today.
No, actually, the reason is the Broncos, obviously because of their depleted injuries, don't have an opposed can't do it opposed at training, so we're actually moved our training tomorrow night. We'll do it opposed against them.
Excellent. Well, good luck on the weekend, Coach, and thank you, boys, for joining us in studio. Thanks for
Eddie.
watching, viewers, and go the Tigers on the weekend.
Go the Tigers.